Hello, I'm Shelley Craft. The Block is making a tree change, and the official Block podcast is where we drill into the details. New episodes every Monday, thanks to Simmons Homes. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
9 podcasts.
Good evening, Blockheads.
Where are we?
Victoria's Macedon Rangers.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
This is damn good.
Well, hello and welcome to the official Block podcast. I'm Shelley Craft. We've seen the promos. We knew this season of the Block was bigger than ever before, and now we've seen it for ourselves.
These 5 houses, each on 10 acres of land.
Big houses, bigger blocks, and oh, the big drama too.
Joel and Elle are on their way to the airport.
Wow.
They have left the show.
Seriously?
On top of that, it's not the usual 5 houses. This time, 6 houses are in the works after Scotty Cam himself decided he could sit on the sidelines no longer.
That's good country spirit right there.
He's back on the tools, and in a moment he's going to tell you all about it.
All right, cool.
Saddle up, because these city slickers are building homes amongst the gum trees, and we're going to uncover the secrets behind contemporary country styling, plus a whole lot more. This is the official Block podcast, thanks to Simmons Homes.
Everyone's got a house, and you've got 12 weeks to finish it.
Scotty, here we go again, Series 18, mate. I cannot wait to work with you.
It's so much fun, Shell, and we've done so many shows together over the years. I think this is one of our best. This series is one of our best as well, because out in the bush, we love the bush.
Absolutely. I've been saying, we've all made tree changes lately. You've obviously got your farm out west. All of the judges have made a tree change recently. Of course, Julian Kress, our executive producer, has made the tree change. I live in regional New South Wales, so it really is a series that's close to all our hearts.
Yeah, and I heard a stat today, actually, that 30,000 people have moved out of Melbourne CBD to regional areas of Victoria in the last 2 years, since the pandemic. So that's a telltale sign that we're on the right direction, at least, with this tree change block. And why wouldn't you want to live only 40 minutes out of Melbourne on 10 acres, have a few chooks, a veggie garden, things like that, and then if you need to, you can run into the city in 45 minutes. How unreal's that? You couldn't do any better.
Well, for our city slickers, I think they got a bit of a shock the first day, didn't they? Because, let's be honest, the promos or the casting call went out during the auction of our Hampton series. So we said it was going to be rural, but I think everyone was still surprised when they turned up and they thought, oh, that rural, really rural.
Yeah, look at those houses we got from all over Australia we've brought in on 10 acres each, and, they were much in need of complete makeovers, including the house that I did as well, which was the original homestead from 1860. So when they did get there, you're right. And because we were under construction for a couple of months doing civil works, like, we had to put 5 bridges in to cross the creek to get up to the houses, and roads, and there was mud everywhere because it had been raining. You're right. It was a bit of a shock to all of us, I think.
Even your good self, yes?
Yeah. I went, oh dear, this is big. Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, your house out of all of them was in serious need of repair. The others seemed to be standing up, but yours looked like it was on a bit of a lean from day one.
Yes, the original homestead from the McGeorge family, and when we pulled off the mason, there was masonite all on the internal walls. There was this beautiful Baltic pine lining boards through every room of the house. So we converted that to bedrooms and a couple of bathrooms and a master suite, and then built the new pavilion out the back with all the lounge living, the dining room and a big fireplace. And it was just so much fun to do because I love old historic homes. Mm-hmm. And I had a good team. I had Spence and Duncan, former contestants. I had Sarah Armstrong from the Block Shop to help me with designs. And then I had the best tilers because I had the choice before everybody else. I had the best landscaper. I had the best plasterers. I had the best Sparky. My team was impeccable. And although I wasn't judged, and I'm not going to auction, I would have won every week.
Every week, without doubt.
Every week.
Is it true
Yeah.
they don't build them like they used to? Like when you say you pulled off the masonite and saw that house revealed underneath, building practices back in the day, obviously, you know, they were doing it tough, but they were doing it well, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. Look, 100%. Absolutely, they don't do it like they used to. The time frame to put those lining boards on the walls and the ceilings, they're individual boards, tongue and groove, so they've all got to be done cut individually and put on. Of course, now it's just gyprock that goes straight over the top of the frame. But we've got to remember too, back in the old days, they would have had maybe 20 blokes working on that house.
Really?
They had a lot of trades working. In the 1860s, if you were building a house, you didn't have one chippy there and a builder. You know, you would have had a builder and probably 10 chippies, because there's so much to do and everything was hardwood. And it was the time frame was, I suppose everybody moved a bit, not slower, but they had more time on their hands. And I've seen pictures of old, which I love, old building sites, and there'd be 30 blokes working on a house. That's what the tradesmen used to be like. And of course, that through technology, remember everything had to be hand cut back in those days, no power tools or anything like that. It was all sawn. I love that style. I love the old tools, and I love that old style of house as well. Every single room has a fireplace in it, because that was the only form of heating.
Yeah, that would have made a better challenge for you, because I know you were back on the tools, but imagine having to use the tools from the day. Well, that's another series altogether, isn't it?
That is. I like that, Shell. You and I could do that. Let's start thinking about that show.
Don't bring me into this.
Yes. You know what? I've got a massive antique tool collection too, because I love them. I could just about provide all the tools.
I think Spence and Duncan would have walked off site on the first day had you pulled out
Yes.
that toolbox.
Yeah, boys, this is what you got to use.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, how was it actually being out there the whole series? You know, I float in and I float out, but you were there the whole time there in the mud.
You know what? I'm turning 60 this year, Shell, and it was really tough on the body, on everything, and it was just a really hard series. Not just for me, the contestants did it really tough, but our crew, and you know how tight we are, Shell, with the crew. We all get on so well. We've all been together for such a long time. And the boys and girls on cameras and sound trudging through the mud with a camera. And for those folks listening, you know, a camera weighs about a carton of beer with a six-pack missing. And that gives you an idea what they've got on their shoulder all day, 10-hour shift. And they've got to walk from house to house through the mud and the rain. Really tough conditions. And I think really at the end of 3 months, everybody was ready to have a bit of a break. And certainly I was. But I loved it because I love the block and I love building and I love telly. But it was one of those really tough ones.
But now comes the fun part when we get to actually sit back and watch it like
Yes.
the rest of Australia, because so much goes on that we miss. Obviously, a camera crew in every house. We're not across everything. So I still get so many surprises throughout the series of things I had no idea went down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same. I'm exactly the same, because you're right. You can't be in 5 places at once. There's action happening all day, every day, and I'm busy doing something else. And you're right. I don't know all the stuff that happens. So I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. And I reckon the other contestants are exactly the same, because they don't know what's going on in the other houses all day.
Oh, can you imagine how they're feeling right now? You know, we've seen a couple of episodes go to air. They're like, that's me on the telly.
Yes, they'd be pooping their pants, Shell. They'd be very nervous, I reckon.
You mean they had microphones on all the time?
Yes. And look, it is very exciting for them, which I really love to see as well, because, as you know, we show them the first episode during the show, towards the end, just to pep them up and get their spirits going. We show them a little bit of themselves, an edited version, so they can just see themselves on the telly. And you know, you've been there. They're that excited. They're hysterically laughing, thinking they're the next Bert Newton, or each and every one of them. And they just love it. So now they've got a whole series. We're talking 50 plus episodes of themselves. It must be so exciting for them to sit down with their families and go, okay, here we go. This is it.
Yeah, we're going to get to know them very, very well.
We are indeed.
Hey, so let's talk everyone through what we're actually dealing with, because I know, you know, we've done a lot of promo, we've said it's acreage, but they're 10-acre blocks each with these beautiful old houses, as you said, that have moved on. The size of the extensions are as big as the first block that we ever did.
Yes.
It's just one extension of one house.
It's amazing. The old houses are beautiful, and we sort of give them a bit of direction to Australian contemporary country. And I don't know if that's a new style that we made up, but basically you've got all the mod cons of today, and you just got a little bit of a hint towards the heritage, maybe in the cornice or the skirting or something like that. And then when you step out to the new pavilions, you do go full contemporary, but you've still got to give a little bit of respect to the old house that you're stepping out from. The houses are huge. The gardens are going to be huge. And then don't forget, we've got a 5-car garage that's attached to the house that's got a work from home space in it, because that is what everybody's doing these days. You can't build a house in the bush for a tree change without a work from home space. So that's the beauty of those sheds out the back. It's separate to the house, because I feel as though if you're working from home, you can't do it on the kitchen table. If you're doing it permanently, you're best off to have a really good space that you can set up with maybe an open fireplace or something so you feel really homely, and somewhere where you can have clients if you do that, if clients come to your workplace. So it's going to be the perfect home to get out of the city, but close enough to get back to the office if you need to. The 10 acres you referred to is something interesting this year, because obviously we always have a backyard week or a front yard week, and it's a landscape week. But we couldn't do that this year because it's 10 acres. So we gave them the opportunity to start landscaping on day one, and it lasted for the entire 12 weeks, including a final week that was landscape week, so they could do the whole week on that. But they could plan and they could organise landscapers and get a design going. So that was the advantage of the 10 acres to get going.
Yeah, well, I reckon all our contestants this year, Australia's going to love them. You know, I always say there's a couple that you love to hate, but by the time the auction comes around, you hope that the whole of Australia is rooting for these guys, that you wish them to do well, because you're going to see them put their heart and souls into these places. And, you know, they are working, as you say, you know, almost around the clock, along with our crews who don't get a medal, sadly. We should hand those out at the end of a series, I reckon.
We should.
But, yeah, to see these guys in action, it's going to be a cracking series.
It is going to be a cracking series, and you're right. You and I know how hard the block is. We've lived and breathed it for many years, and we always have a lot of respect for contestants because they've been through a lot. They work extremely hard, and they get there in the end, and that means they're part of our family. Only about 160 people have done it, and these guys are part of the family now. They're working hard. We'll respect them no matter what at the end of the series, because they're going to get through it.
So which brings us to the elephant in the room, I guess, Joel and Elle.
Yes.
I never got to meet them. You know, and so I've read the press, and I've heard obviously what we were talking about on set, that if only they'd given us a chance to have a chat, because we've had lots of contestants on that brink before,
yes,
albeit a little bit further into the series, where we've had people say that they're ready to leave, that they've had enough, that they can't do it anymore. And once you actually get to have a chat to them and they get to cool down, and even if they leave for a couple of days and come back and they're ready, you know, there was all those opportunities there for these guys.
Yeah, look, it was a shame. And, you know, Shell, the block's not for everybody. It can be tough and it can be daunting. But there's a way to go about things, I suppose. That's just common courtesy. Just to have a chat to us and let us know. I know they did speak to Julian Kress, our executive producer, with some concerns. He was trying to talk them off the ledge and say, look, come in and have a chat. They didn't. They left in the morning of promo day, which was pretty chaotic for us because promo day, it's expensive. And we've got a big crew of about 50 people, and then we turn up and there's one team missing, which threw our promos into chaos and cost us a lot of money. And then we had to also scramble and find another couple because we were starting the next day on the Sunday. So that was tough as well. We're going to have to ask them why they left, because they really didn't give us any reason why. And if it was to do with Joel's sick mum, well, they didn't tell us that. You know, that was never mentioned, because the week before the block started, we flew them to Adelaide for a week and put them up to be with Joel's mum. And then they came back and said, everything's hunky-dory, we're good to go, we're sweet. So that's where it gets a bit perplexing. If they had have said to us, you know, we need to go back and see mum again, we would have flown them there immediately.
Yeah.
As we've
and
always
we've had that
done.
before.
We've had that before.
Sadly, we've been through tragedy on the show with people losing loved ones, and I always say it's not Big Brother. You're not locked in the house. You can come and go as you please, as long as you deliver a room on Sunday. And even if you don't deliver a room on Sunday, it's only the downfall for you because you're that much further behind, you know, the next week. But,
right.
you know, you can come and go as you like. I just hope they don't sit at home watching it, wishing they were still on. I really hope they've resolved it, that they're happy that they left and that they don't have any, you know, bad feelings about that.
And of course, we wish them well, you know, because at the end of the day, we're just renovating. Like, it's not life and death.
Yeah, that's right. And, we got a cracking team to come on board and jump straight in. So,
we
just
did.
on with the show, I say, from now on.
That's right. We've got a new couple coming and we're going to have a great time.
Yeah, well, weren't they thrown in the deep end? But they scored an amazing house.
Amazing house. And you know what, Shell? Those contestants that turned up, their kids weren't settled because they left on the drop of a hat and they didn't give their kids a chance to get used to the fact that they were going away for 3 months. And, of course, they were worried about that, so we flew them home. We flew them back to Sydney to be with their kids, to settle them down, and we said, when you're ready, come back. And she rang and said, we're ready, the kids are good. Okay, we'll fly you back. Because family does come first on the block.
And isn't it crazy, by the end of the series, they was like, oh, I wonder what it'll be like being back with our families. They have been away for 3 months, often we have little visits or they will go home for a day or so. But when we do see them with their families again, it's like, wow, I think it's actually easier being a contestant sometimes.
Yes. Well, especially for those guys, 3 young kids under about 6 or 7, that's a tough gig.
Yep, 3 months away, sounds like paradise.
Yeah, that's right. Shell, like I had 3 under 3. Someone said, you and your wife can go away for 3 months and we'll look after the kids. I'd be sitting in the car with the engine idling.
Oh dear, it's true. It's going to be a wild ride this season. I loved every single minute of it. It was fabulous. And I love the contestants we've got on board. Tom and Sarah Jane, they're just such a fabulous team. Dylan and Jenny, our lady tradie, from the Goldie. How good are they?
Yeah, great.
And then Omar and Oz give us so many laughs along the way.
Those boys, they always had a smile on their face. I really respected them for that because they were going through Ramadan, Shell, as you know, and I didn't realise. Well, I knew that you weren't allowed to eat anything between sunup and sunrise, but no water.
No, nothing.
No liquid.
No, nothing.
So they were renovating and working really hard, and from sunup to sunset, no food and no water. And they had a smile on their face.
Yeah.
So that was very impressive.
And I actually loved learning about their culture and their religion along the way as well, because that was such a big part of it. Ramadan is enormous for them, but to have to push through and work, it's probably okay if you're at a desk job or you're at home in your normal routine. But the block takes so much brain power in those first few weeks as well, just to get your head around what's going on. It's really going to be wonderful for our audience to see that side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. We're a diverse bunch this year, which is great. They brought all their family and friends to my place, and we had a big Afghan feed. And it was magnificent, the food,
How
and it was
awesome.
all laid out. And so that was really great to witness as well.
Yep. And then we've got Encore and Sharon. Look, they have no trade experience.
Yes.
And we've had this conversation many times. What would make the perfect block couple? And I remember saying to you, I reckon a human resources manager and an accountant would be great because they could manage their trades and manage the books. And you just laughed.
Yes.
You just laughed at me. And I think we're going to see that play out this year.
Yeah, we are going to see that play out there. The accountant budget struggled a little bit there. And the best contestants on the block, Shell, would be a painter and a plasterer.
Well, that'll never
That's
happen.
my theory. A painter and a plasterer.
Lucky's never going to cast a painter and a plasterer.
No, that's right. But imagine you got, say, the wife is the painter and the hubby is the plasterer. He lays all the gyprock and she's painting all night. I mean, that would be a winning formula.
And we also have a very special guest star on this series, Frankie the Kelpie. Gee, it was lovely having her on site every day, wasn't it?
It was fantastic to have little Frankie. She's our family dog. And I've had Kelpies all my life. And I've had a couple on the telly, Lizzie and Rosie, before, back in the day.
Yeah, Frankie must have been jealous up until this point because she wasn't getting a look in.
She would have been. And because, of course, Shell, I've got Lizzie and Rosie stuffed at home. So she said, maybe I don't want to be on the telly because I end up like them.
I'm immortal and I don't like the sound of that.
I don't like the sound of that. But she comes on because she's family dog, but she's also a bit of a working dog as well because I do have some cattle and she comes to work with me when I'm there. But predominantly at home with the family. So she's much loved and she was just had a great time being in the bush every single day. It's going to be great to show her off because she's such a pretty dog, as you know, and she does some nice tricks and stuff, and she's just friendly and happy. And she's got her own Instagram page, Shell, that my daughter set up. It's called Frankie Cam the Kelpie, and she's got 700 followers already.
Oh, she's a superstar.
On day 2.
Yeah, she'll be an influencer by the end of the series.
She'll be an influencer. Yeah, so a lot of fun with Frankie there.
Yeah, well, look, she only has eyes for you. I know everyone tried to make friends with Frankie, and she was polite, She was cordial
Yes.
to everyone, but I tell you what, you could just see it in her eyes. She's like, what's Dad want me to do next? Where are we going next? I did think she needed a little pair of booties out there in the mud all day. Her little toes must have been cold.
She is a Kelpie, Shell. She's tough as.
Well, you've built her strong.
And she got a fur coat on. Someone said to me, you should put a jacket on her because it's cold. I said, she's got a jacket. She's got a fur coat.
Little sneaky dryser bone would have been nice, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
something like that. She gets around, and the big thing is I had to send everybody. We've got 200 people on site, and I did have to send an email out to everybody, a blanket email. Please do not throw the stick for Frankie. She gets obsessed with that sort of thing, and if you throw it for her, she just runs across the rocks, and she chewed up all her pads, on the gravelly roads because people were throwing the sticks. And so
Yes.
then she couldn't walk on the pads because she chewed them all, broke them all up. Anyway, but she looks for new customers all the time, picks up a stick, drops it at your boot. And I'm looking at the person and I go, no, don't throw the stick. And then if there was a new bloke in town, someone else say, don't throw that stick for the dog, you'll get in trouble.
Don't do it. Yeah, you will. God, my two slugs would just be looking for smoko on every site. That's all they'd be doing. Couldn't give a rat's about the stick. They'd be like, oh, who's got the chicken poppers this time?
Yeah, she was doing a bit of that too. Following tradesmen around with pies.
Oh, look to reflect. It's such a cracking series. I'm so excited for this to get underway. As we said, a couple of days in so far, and it's been brilliant. But there's so much good stuff to come. I reckon it's our
look,
best yet.
100% it's our best. I love it too. I'm really excited for the rest of it, and there's a lot happening in the coming episodes. So strap yourselves in, folks. That's all I can say.
Don't miss the Block on 9 this week as the blockheads dive off the deep end and race to complete the main bathroom. Never miss an episode of the official Block podcast by tapping follow or subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is the official Block podcast, thanks to Simmons Homes. Chat soon.
Every day at Simmons, our people stand by our promise to be with you throughout your new home journey. Over the last 70 years, Simmons have seen and dealt with it all. And despite today's trade and material shortages, our size and strong relationships means we'll deliver on what we promise. So if you're ready to join the thousands of Australians we're welcoming home each month, talk to Simmons, the great Australian builder. Find out more at simmons.com.au. CDBU 49491.